What's up, guys? So many years ago, I made a decision that literally changed my entire life. And I was in a place where I really wanted freedom. Actually, I didn't want to live in England, if I'll be honest with you. I just kind of got fed up of it. And I'd done a trip while uh, being interested in CrossFit. And I came over to the United States, and my friend started to show me around the US. And it was at that time I said to myself, I'm going to move to America. I went from saying it's a dream and I said, I'm going to. So I set an intention. And that's really where I started to take my business a lot more seriously because I had this specific goal that I wanted. And, I don't know what place you are in your life and what dreams you have and the reason for that. But what I do know from the amount of people that I've worked with over the years is that freedom is the thing that we want, right? To do the things that we want to do and have the freedom and choice to be able to live the life that we desire. For some people, in my experience, that is about getting the material things, which is fine, the cars and the new houses, right? But for others, it's also about giving back. Maybe they want to um, allow their parents to go on amazing trips, something, and basically give back to their family. For other people, it's a lot deeper. They want to give to their charity or their church, right? And they want to be able to do the things and have more money to be able to do that. Now, I spent a lot of years, I'll be honest with you, in my uh, personal training career, in my business career after that, when I didn't understand the real benefit of coaching, consulting, and mentoring. I didn't really understand it. I didn't know what it was, and it hadn't helped me yet, but it did. First of all, let me explain to you the difference between a coach, a consultant, and a mentor, because I've hired many of them over the years, and this distinction will really help you. A coach is essentially someone who takes you from A to B because maybe you struggle to do that on your own through your own self awareness or your lack of action, maybe procrastination, and they're there to hold you accountable. I'll give you an example. I don't need to have made $1 billion. I could coach a billionaire because I could listen to them. I could hear their challenges. I could provide suggestions and lead them through by getting to do them the things that they aren't used to. Okay. So a coach is there to ask questions that bring insight and then allow the student to be able to make a decision. Then when they make that decision, it's about the coach, if they're a good coach, holding them accountable to that thing. Now, if you're watching this as a pickleball coach, in your job as a coach, it's to educate the player, to show them things that they haven't seen before or taken action on before, and then shorten the gap. And this is an important phrase, right? Shorten the gap between where they are and where they want to be. So that's the role of a coach. Now, a consultant is more, I see this more on the strategic side. For example, if you've not run a Facebook ad before, then what do you put as your image? What do you put as your copy? What's a marketing funnel? Have you got a system for that? So essentially, a consultant, how I see it and how I've worked over the years as a consultant, is providing the systems and the processes from the results that I've generated and also the clients that I've worked with. That takes also a certain creative side. And if you're creative, you also can make a really good consultant, but really a consultant has systems and processes that you execute, and systems is really important in a business. Now, the mentor, I see, and everybody's got a different definition, the mentor is drawing from their personal experience, right? So I've not made billions, but I've made millions. So I can talk about that journey and the mistakes and the money that I lost and the things that didn't work right. But I've also overcome addiction, right? I've also been through my GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome, this medical thing. So when I'm working with a client, if it's applicable, I'm sharing my personal journey on my experience. So for example, if I'm helping, as I've done many times on the personal development side, if I'm guiding someone to give up drinking, for example, I can coach them. I'm not going to be a consultant, right? I can coach them through that. But I'm also being the mentor saying, hey, listen, I've actually been through this journey too, and this is exactly what I did, right? So there's the accountability side, but there's also the mentorship side. So in understanding this, the move that I made that I want to talk to you about, and then the journey that I've helped a lot of people on, was I went from trying to figure things out on my own to consciously seeking people who were ahead of me that had already been there and done that on the things that I desired to be at and my weaknesses. What I didn't understand after making a $30,000 investment was that the thing that I thought was the problem was not the problem. So at the time, I was wanting to make a lot of money and move country. And when I invested in this, I would say, sales trainer and mentor at the time, and he turned it also into being a great coach. But what I discovered was that I thought that I needed strategy. But when I started to get help, it was very glaringly obvious that it was my confidence that needed help. And as that started to rise, I started to naturally take action on certain things and use my skill set. I still needed to learn the sales strategies. I still needed to learn the marketing strategies. They helped. But without that increase of confidence, then I wasn't able to break through my limits and challenges. So what I want you to think about, especially this year moving forward, is about your investment decisions. Now, of course, if you're running a business, there's going to be investment in equipment, okay? There's going to be investment in time in other areas of your business, in things like software and marketing funnels. But what you may not have considered that is actually really important is the investment in this triad between coach, consultant, and mentor. Now, me specifically, I draw into all of these things. I dip and dive in conversations with my clients from consultant to mentor to coach. But what you want to think about is the gap that's shortened, just like pickleball, just like you taking someone from a beginner into their first tournament, right? You also want to think about where you are in your and have a very honest conversation about your acumen when it comes to sales, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to your confidence. In fact, I would do an exercise on a piece of paper and write those things down. Write down your weaknesses. And you have to get humble here. You have to get vulnerable. You have to get honest. You have to say, do you know what? I don't know anything about marketing funnels. In fact, do you know what? When it comes to sales, I really struggle with confidence there. I don't want to get in a conversation on the phone with people. If people message me, I'm not unsure on what to say. When it comes to me, for example, being on video, like I'm shy. Like if you want your business to grow, you've got to get brutally honest about where you are. This is even before you go to hire someone. And in this video, I'm also going to talk about the attributes of a good student and what I've noticed over the years in helping so many people get to 6 figures and some people 7 figures, okay? But first of all, an exercise, write down your weak areas, okay? Because truth leads to transformation. If you get really honest and say, you know what, these are the skills that I want to develop. I want to get good at high ticket sales, for example. I want to develop a program for myself where I can sell not just individual sessions, but sell transformation packages. But I don't know how to do that. That was one of my big breakthroughs. And I'll be doing a video on high ticket sales, but that completely changed my entire life. But if I'd just been given the strategy, I would not have executed it because I didn't have the confidence. I had low self-esteem. I'd been bullied when I was a kid. I didn't have any intrinsic internal confidence. I presented myself as really confident, but inside of me, I wasn't that way. And so I needed someone to guide me through and to build my confidence. And that is scary because we don't like to be vulnerable. We don't like to admit the truth. So I made this investment, and then as I started to get guidance, what was really important in my journey was and this is so important for anything that you go into, the willingness to hold up your hand and ask questions so that you can pivot and move forward. One thing that I've learned after just coaching hundreds of people over the years is that it's the students, not just who are driven, but it's the students who are willing to ask for help and willing to share what's not working because they're not afraid of that feedback. Because if you're going to go into business coaching, if you're going to get someone to guide you, you've got to be honest. You've got to do the work, but you have to be honest and go back and say, hey, I tried this, it didn't work. Can you give me suggestions so that you can get the guidance to move forward. Because a big part of that journey, going from the place where you are right now, because you may be watching this as someone's brand new to entrepreneurship, right? Very important decision early on to get business coaching if you're new to entrepreneurship, because you can get that process sped up for you. But maybe you're also in a position where you've been doing business for a certain period of time, but you're at this plateau. Well, a plateau happens a lot of the time because of our own thoughts and our own belief system, but also that coupled with the strategic side and doors being opened for you in terms of now the courageous actions that you're now taking versus what you weren't doing, right? Or maybe a pivot in positioning or a pivot in your offer can massively build the business. So there has to be drive, there has to be vulnerability, there has to be honesty. And the other part of it is that it gets you to also understand the importance of investing yourself at this higher level, so that now when people are coming to you, you're also willing to make those jumps in your income. I didn't understand this at all when I first got started. It was only when I started to make bigger investments in myself and I started to jump up, right, from places where I didn't think I could be to the next stage. And then because I'd made those investments in myself, then it was a lot easier to sell the things that I was selling because I'd done it for myself. And my mentor taught me a long time ago, like attracts like, right? So the point being, if you're looking for everything that's free, then don't be surprised when people come to you and it's everyone wanting it to be free, right? If you want your clients to pay on time and be good students, you have to show up in that way. And that's a big part of alignment, right? Be the person, right? Set the example by taking the actions yourself. I want to swim back finally just in this video about also who investing in business coaching, for example, mentoring, isn't for. And this is like a very serious, like, don't invest in it. If you're not all in pickleball, like, or in your business, right? If you're not all in, it's a waste of time. Okay. If you don't like accountability, because the accountability is such an important side of it, right? When I have a conversation with a client and we agree upon something, there's an expectation from me that they're going to do that between that call, for example, and the next call, right? Or if they're going through a process or a program, like, my expectation is that you're going to follow through. So if you're not committed, if you're not all in your business, if you don't like, for example, accountability, I would probably avoid it. Also, in my experience, you've got to have a good attitude, right? Because the journey that you're going to go on with your business coach or your mentor or whoever you're working with, and this is the same for you and the clients that are coming to you, it's a relationship, right? It's a relationship in terms of, like, trust, right? Because you're investing in that person, as I have done with so many people, right? Very high amounts. I'm trusting in that person to guide me. Like, I'm saying I'm willing to do the work, but there's also this trust in this relationship. And so you've got to have a good attitude. There's going to be emotional highs. There's going to be the emotional highs of the wins and the breakthroughs on the things that you didn't believe that you could do. There is going to be the lows, the emotional lows, but it's in your lows. And this is so important. It's in your lows, in your lowest moments, the darkness, right? That the trust is there for you to contact the person that you're working with to be able to bring you out of that, to be able to support you. And support is that word, because the coaching is not just about you reaching financial goals. It's also you as a person, because inevitably, if you're growing your business, you are growing too, because you're going to go through challenges of dealing with people that you shouldn't have taken on, and situations and events. And a lot of the time when I'm working with someone, it's not just about the strategy on, like, increasing your prices or positioning yourself differently. It's also the rough times that entrepreneurship brings, because you're working with personalities, you're working with emotions, you're working with transactions and different situations that are going on, and maybe accounts getting shut down, or situations, with my pickleball coaching clients, right? Of situations changing with courts being available and the emotions dealing with so many different things, right? So it's in those lows that you get to come out of them, and without that, we can be in a very dark period for a very long time. When I first got involved in sales, I would get a no and I would be emotionally crushed because I wasn't emotionally mature to deal with the rejection. It was a rejection for me at that time. And I didn't have the guidance. But as soon as I made that investment, what happened was I suddenly started to realize that there was a significant value to me in being willing to be around someone within those lows so that they could help to reframe me and get me back on track. That was valuable. That was financially valuable because a month or even a couple of weeks of me being down, a month of me being down, or me just being stuck in my comfort zone, that builds up over time. But when you introduce a new price point, when you increase prices as one example, when you bring in a new signature program as another example, when you make a stretch to go on video and do that consistently as another thing, all these things build up, and that's when you take off. And so what we do in the mind, what someone new to investing is going to do is see the cost, and they're going to see that cost of what it costs and go, that's a lot of money. But actually, if you find the right coach, the right mentor, the right guidance, someone that's been in the trenches, that's done it, it's actually far more costly to not make the investment because of what you would be making. So essentially, by not making that investment, your business isn't growing. So there has to be trust. You also need to be a person also that understands risk to a certain degree, and that investment is not going to put you in a place where it's dangerous. I will not allow someone to invest in my services if they're in a position where this investment will put them in their body in a place of survival. It should be uncomfortable. I made my specific big investment was after I was in $60,000 of debt and I had 6,000 left on a credit card. I put 5,000 down. It was a 30,000 investment. I paid it every month. I never missed any money, but I ended up making millions of dollars for that because I was all in. And that's why I'm saying you've got to be all in. If you go all in when you go in and make your investment with your coach, consultant, or mentor, and you show up and you do the work, and they also have integrity, you will get amazing results. And you'll look back going, it's a really great decision. But there's certainly a group of people that shouldn't do it. If you're someone that has a great attitude, if you're fun, okay, if you roll with the punches, right? If you enjoy accountability, if you like a challenge, if you like stretching yourself, right? If you like structure is another one, then coaching, consulting, mentoring can be really useful. I'll wrap this up with a question, and I want you to post in the comments below. Between your own mindset and strategy, these two things, your confidence on one side, your mindset on one side, your emotional intelligence on one side, your fears on one side, and strategic, like social media and sales, right? Like those sides of things. What, right now at this stage of your business, where do you feel like you need the most help? If you're really honest, this is a really important question. And what it helps to do is for you to understand where to put your energy, especially when you're entering a business, a coaching relationship. So what side do you put yourself on? Would you say that you really need to, if you imagine two towers, right? Which tower needs to rise the most in order for your business to grow? If you had a 5 or 10x in confidence, what would that do for your business? Or maybe you're someone that's really outgoing and you're really confident, right? You've not had a load of situations in the past in your childhood that have affected you. And maybe it's like, if I just knew how to what to say on camera, right? If I just knew how to sell, right? If I just had a structure to that, right? That I could adjust and pivot for me that feels good. Is that something that would massively help your business? Is it pricing, right? Let me know in the comments which side are you on. And if you're not already subscribed, then please hit that button. And of course, I'd just like to share with you now a couple of cool options if you are committed, if you're all in, if you're somebody that takes guidance, right? Then you can head to picklepreneurs.com. There's a couple of options. You can apply for coaching with me, which is also consulting and mentorship. I'll have a conversation with you and find out what's best for you based on the place you're at. And there's also the Picklepreneurs Mastermind, which is a community. There's trainings. There's 6 different cohorts covering marketing and sales and different aspects. There's also monthly calls. And for a very low investment, that's going to give you a really high return if you go through the trainings, if you take action, if you show up to the calls. But if you need more specific support, then definitely check out the website too, where there's an application. And I'd love to be able to support you on your goals this year if you're all in, if you want to change more lives in pickleball. And I'll see you in another video. Take care.